Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you are continuously saying, "Why, God, why? When, God, when? How, God, how? What to do, God? What's next? God, why can't you change these people? Why can't you take away this trouble in my life and change this situation I'm in?" And so your complaints go on, and until they become so painful to bear. Next thing you know, you have become the mighty complainer. Well, I want to bring you some relief by answering your questions so as to help create a positive shift in your life. In this world, we have three types of complainers. We have those who exist to complain. They find fault with just about everything and everybody. They nitpick at everything. As soon as they open their mouth, something negative flies out. The second type of complainer we have are the casual ones. You know, those whose vehicle may break down at the most inconvenient time, and it's never a convenient time for something to go wrong. Or someone who may be stuck in traffic but needs to pick up their child at school at a particular time and is running late now because of the traffic. So they get mad and frustrated and they complain about being stuck in traffic. These are the casual complainers. They drop everything, once the event is done, which usually lasts very briefly, they drop it and they move on. Then we have the sincere complainers, those who sincerely struggle during a period in their life, whether it's brief or prolonged. These complainers usually feel as though everything has been pulled out from under their feet. Their complaints are really a legitimate cry for help that most people don't recognize, but actually view as complaints. These complainers feel very burdened and often feel very alone during their troubles. And this is the group of complainers that I'm going to focus on today. But of course, all the groups can learn a lot from this lesson. So let us first understand why it is when you struggle, you complain so much and you even blame, whether it is about people or situation or some event. Well, you struggle and you complain simply because you cannot accept things as they are at that time in your life. And you may even feel as though change is not happening according to your will, no matter what it is you do and how much you do. Therefore, you feel as though you have no control. In other words, you want things to be other than the way it is right now. And nothing is wrong with this if it is not favorable. But as you can see and notice that the more you complain, the worse you feel on the inside, and the more despondent you become, which can even lead to becoming very fearful and to debilitation, which leads to hopelessness. Nothing seems to improve in your life, and the situation actually does not get better during your complaints, but can actually make things worse and even prolong it. If you check the dictionary for the meaning of the word complain, you're going to see it starts off with a suffering. So the more you complain, the more you suffer. Always remember that whenever you are tempted to complain. So the more you complain, the more your suffering is going to prolong. When you complain, it means that you are judging, you are condemning, you could even be blaming, and you can even put yourself in the situation of want. And the more you want, and you want and want, it can even bring you to the point where you start to develop false entitlement. The more you complain, it means your gratitude is diminishing. Now, there are some people, they say that they're very grateful They thank God for this, that, the other, for the food on their table, for the roof over their head. But in the very next breath, they start to complain. So what they're doing, they're actually neutralizing that gratitude. So they set themselves back to their original position where they are no better off. And the more you complain, the more your energy gets depleted and you get nowhere better. When you are in the complaining and blaming mode, what happens is that you end up being in a lower vibrational level. You are now tuned in to a lower AM radio frequency. But really and truly, your complaints are saying, I want something better. You want the music coming from the FM frequency. And you cannot get it by being stationed in your AM frequency. So when you're in that lower frequency, you cannot get to the higher frequency stuff that belongs there. Lower frequency, there's no change in you. There is only one kind of people you're going to meet there, one kind of songs playing, complain, complain, one kind of situation, negative, negative. Down there in that lower frequency, you're going to find other complainers and judges there to support you in your complaints. And what happens when you're in that lower frequency? You're going to drive good people away, because good people are not going to be in the AM frequency, right? They're going to be in the higher FM frequency. Imagination, creative ideas, solutions, a better state of being and better life do not exist at that lower vibrational level of complaint. These things exist in the higher frequency, the FM station. They belong there. So that means in order to access these, you have to stop your complaining. At the higher frequency, that is where you're going to find people with better qualities in nature, better things that you want, greater possibilities, gratefulness, positive outlook, openness to change. So when you are complaining, what you're actually really saying is that you want better. But for out there to be any better, in here, you have to start in here. In here has to start to get better. So you have to shift in from that AM frequency of complaint to the FM frequency, the higher frequency mode. So it means if you want better up there, you have to stop the complaining and stop the self-pity. When you find yourself under pressure among people or in some situation that is very trying and difficult to deal with, understand that it is there in your life for a great purpose. Whether the situation came out of the blue or you actually placed yourself in it. Now, there are some people may out of the blue get things like cancer, end up with a heart problem, even though they were living a very healthy life in many ways. They may have brought up children in a wonderful, loving home, a wonderful environment, teaching them about God. They excel in their grades, and then suddenly these children come home and they're on drugs, they have bad influences in their lives. So these things hit the parents out of the blue and trouble begins in the home. Or you may be someone who is an excellent employee, but yet you find yourself in a situation where you keep losing your jobs. Or you may actually put yourself deliberately in a situation. It may be a transitory place just to be like a buffer for you to do something else. But as you enter, you yourself placed yourself in that transitory place. You saw it started off as a very favorable situation in the beginning. But then it started to decline and become unfavorable, and you end up getting stuck there. Right? Whatever the reason, your why for being in troubled waters, however you got there, whether it's out of the blue or something you placed yourself in, understand that it is a perfect setup, a perfect marrying of you and people, or you and an unfavorable event or situation in your life, as being the process needed to bring to the surface gunk that you have settled in you. Gunk such as weaknesses, negativities, and deficiencies that now need to be corrected. According to the universal law of creation, of life, of God, this is your time and the perfect scenario for you to now learn some lessons about yourself, to grow up, to transform, and become strong. When everything is smooth, nothing to learn, there's nothing to learn, nothing to fix, nothing to change. Everything is stagnant, you're on a plateau. There's nothing, no work to be done. You're not growing, you're not learning. So, and you're not here on earth to stay only at one level. You're actually here to ascend. And trouble and pressure will help that. Trouble and pressure demand a transformation. You know, when you throw some cow manure, or some people may call it cow crap, meaning the crap of life, right? You tend to say, oh, yuck, right? But what is happening when you throw all that soil on yourself? Some growth is taking place under the surface, underneath that soil. Now, you don't feel like you're growing when that is happening to you, when the crap of life comes pouring in over you, right? And the reason you don't feel it is because you can't see it as yet. But add some fertilizer of knowledge, and what happens? Some growth takes place. Something starts to shoot up, right? Roots start to form. Pour some water and rain, which is of wisdom now coming in, of more knowledge, right? So you put a little more trouble in, pouring in the water, right? What happens? You become even more stronger and you grow even more. You start to flourish. Then you add some rays of sunshine, of wisdom to what you're going through. And what happens? Once you embrace this wisdom and apply them in your life, you start to blossom beautifully. This is all life. You know, it is said, if ever you want to learn about life, just look at nature. There's lots to learn there. So I encourage you to look at nature and learn from it. So what are the lessons that you're supposed to learn to transform during your troubling times? Well, this can be different for different people. It could be if you're having problems with people that you do not need, you have to stop stifling people and be not as controlling. Maybe you need to build up self-confidence. You need to adjust your diet if you have health issues, exercise. Maybe you need to learn how to eliminate stress from your life and develop a greater relationship with God. Maybe you need to learn how not to be so judgmental, be a little more giving and not so self-absorbed. You have to figure out what is for you, because it's different for everybody. It could be. And if you can't figure it out, because sometimes that what can delude you. I know I've gone through that. I said, well, my goodness, God, I don't know what I'm supposed to learn here. You know, in that case, when you can't figure it out and it's eluding you, I suggest that you surrender it to a higher power, to God. And I can guarantee you it will reveal itself in due course if you stay open. Because if you stay closed, you're going to always say, you know what, I'm right in this situation, and nothing will improve in you, and you would never be able to see what it is you need to learn. You know, once in my life, I've gone through this very difficult situation, and I sat down and I actually wrote out all the deficiencies, because it meant I had to look at myself. And the list was long and overwhelming. And to be honest, I said, oh my goodness, how did I ever reach at this point in my life where I brought myself down to this low level? And it was so overwhelming. I said, oh my goodness, how am I going to ever repair and fix all this stuff in me? And basically, you know what I did? I said, you know what, God, all of this is overwhelming. I offer it to you. And I'm going to take one quality at a time, whatever it is I need to fix. And I trust that you'll help me work it through. So it seemed less burdening to do it. So I suggest you can use that approach. Whatever the what is that you need to clean up in your life, that you need to fix, that you need to go beyond, I'm going to tell you this. There are 3 major lessons to learn in that what. And I like to call them the 3 how-tos. So this is what the 3 major lessons are behind your what. The first one is you have to learn how to become patient, how to be patient. Whether you want somebody to change or you want some event or a situation to change in your life, you have to come to this point where you have to check your attitude, your judgments. Are you becoming more bitter, more miserable, or are you becoming a better person? You have to fix your level of thinking, change from being close-minded to being open-minded. The second how to is how to do. Whatever it is you are doing to create change because your unfavorable situation, you don't like it. So yes, you have to do something to instigate change. You have, while you're doing whatever it is you need to do, learn to let go. Let go of the hopeful result that you want. And what I mean by let go is to let go inwardly. Don't stifle, if it's somebody you want to change, don't stifle the person to change. Don't stifle the thing you want to come into being. Relax your hold, do the best you can, relax within, and then you can probably start to enjoy life. The third lesson you have to learn in this troubled waters is how to be. Be at peace, be pleasant, be joyful, be grateful. And what will happen? Your aura will start to light up. Develop a deeper relationship with God instead of doing like me, what I did, and keep telling him off, because often it is said in the Holy Bible, actually, that his ways are not our ways. So when you can see the good coming from this pain by the lessons you're learning, transformation is going to take place within you. So how can you stop this complaining? Let me provide you with some solutions. First thing to do is really face yourself and ask yourself this question. How is all your complaining making your life any better? Because complaining and blaming usually don't solve problems. In fact, they can actually magnify them. So that's the first thing to ask yourself and really realize the truth in it. The second point is dissociate from fellow complainers. I like to say keep them 6 feet away because they would be like a virus coming to infect you even more. So because when you keep other complainers in your life, all they're going to do is support you in your complaints and keep your complaining alive, and nothing will ever feel better or become better in your life. So get uplifting influencers and influences, those who do not justify your complaints but help you to go beyond them so that you take yourself up to the higher FM frequency. Accept, the third one, accept that the unfavorable situation is here and stop exerting energy, resenting it, resisting it. And instead use that same energy and direct it from that lower frequency up to the higher FM frequency. Fourth thing, develop trusting relationship in God and stop telling him off as much. Have a great sense of gratitude. Stay in gratitude. You know, one of the things, I'm Indian, yes, and I love all my ancient Eastern teachings. But one thing I do love about my Christian background, because I'm a Christian, is that I love the praise and worship, because the moment I open my mouth and I say, God, thank you. Thank you for giving me strength to come through this situation. Thank you for the lessons I'm learning, for their reshaping me and building me into a stronger human being, a better human being, more like you. I start to feel so different within myself. So stay in that sense of gratitude. And if you cannot find a solution for your unfavorable situation, stay humble. Surrender it to a greater intelligence, to God, so you can relax and enjoy life. The moment you hand it over to a power greater than what you know of yourself, what happens? Your burden starts to feel lighter and you feel supported. The fifth one, do like me, and I say, face yourself honestly. Make a list of what you need to change in yourself, what needs to be transformed in you, and recognize these changes that you need to make and actually work on them. Don't let them overwhelm you. Be true and honest with yourself. Get all the gunk that is down there. You see, we tend to focus on the trouble that we're facing without realizing that what life, God, the universal intelligence, is trying to bring to our attention is really all the gunk we have stuck in us that needs to surface and rise up and deal with what is rising up. Okay? The next one I would say is, instead of condemning others, pray for them, not for your benefit, but for their benefit, that they need transformation. So instead of trying to force them to change, just let it be. You go beyond them, you pray for them, and let it be for their benefit. The next one, stop listening to too many people, especially non-believers who are telling you what to do. Use your intellect. Listen to that inner voice, to the voice of God, and to a voice of reason, because there might be somebody in your life who can actually give you a voice of reason. Listen to that intelligence and take practical steps toward a fresh, positive direction with faith in God. And very importantly, I say, do something good and joyful for yourself and for others. And what happens? You're going to be shifting your focus now from complaining to something more pleasant, to a better place. And you will actually lighten up and wouldn't find you have to complain a lot. You see, the more you stay in your downtrodden place, in that downtrodden situation, and you focus on how bad it is, the worse it's going to feel. But the moment you do something good and pleasant and joyful and do something good for another human being, you start to light up and the complaining starts to reduce. And of course, I say, implement my 3 how-tos. You see, when you implement these 3 how-tos, how to, and stop the complaining and blaming, you are going to shift from that AM frequency and everything aligned with it straight up to the FM frequency and what that vibrational field has to offer. And what will happen is you're going to find that you become a little more pleasant person. You're going to become hopeful and less pitiful. Some situations, when you stop the blaming and complaining, may never change, even when you stop the condemning. You're going to find that the situation persists, and I'll give you an example. I have an aunt who has lost her legs, unfortunately, and now her whole life is spent in a wheelchair. That situation will never change. Her legs are not going to grow back. Maybe miraculously it can happen, but it hasn't happened as yet. So that situation isn't changing. But what has changed is her attitude and acceptance. That is what is helping her to enjoy life and the life that she has been blessed with. And she's making the most of it. She's very prayerful, very thankful. So the situation hasn't changed, but life feels different for her. During winter, it's very difficult for her. She's stuck inside most of the times, and during the period of COVID, it didn't help her. But she's someone who gets up in the morning, she says her prayers, she sings her religious songs, she makes sure she has plants in her living room that she takes care of, and she makes the most of her life. So your situation may never change, but your attitude is what changes, and life feels better and feels much different for you. Now, when you stop the complaining, blaming, judging, condemning, some situations can actually change. And you may even find, and we know many stories of this, where miracles and healing occur because you're no longer in blaming, you're in belief mode, you're in a positive mode, you're connecting with that greater power that can bring miracles into being. You may find that you actually bump into somebody who might give you an opportunity that you want. It has happened to me in my life. There was a time when I wanted to change my career. And instead of complaining and complaining, it just so happened I was taking a class and I met a gentleman there. And that gentleman had a business and learned that I was looking to switch career actually into the field that he was in. And he invited me out. We went to a restaurant, and that was actually an interview that I didn't even realize was an interview. And that person felt I was worthy of bringing into his company, and he gave me an opportunity. So these are like miracles happening. Once you stop the complaining, stop staying in that low frequency mode, the AM, you're going to connect with the FM frequency and everything that's in it. You may find that somebody changes their behavior when you least expect it. Why? Because now you've let go. You are no longer wanting them to change for you, but you are praying for their change for themselves because it's going to benefit them, because it will benefit the whole world when they change, right? You may actually take a step yourself towards making a change, and somehow everything starts to work out favorably. See, all change and its timing is not in your hands. The end product, the end result, when it happens, is all by grace and divine design. Whether there is a change or there is no change, the key is to stop complaining, blaming, resenting, condemning, resisting. Stop the guilt, stop the what ifs, and your life will start to feel and be drastically different. So at this point, I'm going to present you with a challenge. I challenge you for the next 31 days, 30 or 31 days, it's up to you, to stop any complaining and blaming. And yes, you may have a little pain in your leg. That's not a problem. Yes, everybody will complain. My head hurts a little bit. Go take an aspirin, calm yourself down, de-stress yourself. Okay, not these little minor things. I'm talking about all your major complaints. Get rid of it. Stop the complaining. And leave your comments after 30, 31 days, or even before, when you start seeing a change in your life. So let me leave you with this. Your environment and or the people who are there are not necessarily there for you to fix and to try to change, but the environment and the people who are there, they are actually there because they are the instrument to instigate change in you for the better. Realize this. It is the where you are, where you need to be, so that you can learn to bless and be a blessing to others, but most importantly, to be a blessing to yourself. So stop the blaming, give up suffering, and start enjoying your life.